Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's HBCU Game Day. We're getting ready for Week 7 in the MEAC and the Swac. I'm Tolly Carr. I'm solo on the dolo here in the studio, but I do have my boys with me. Vaughn, Wilton there in the middle, and Wilton Jackson there hanging out on the bookend. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
What's going on, Tolly?
Hey, enjoying life. Simone has let us down. Simone is dedicated to those Eagles. Her Eagles are playing on Thursday night, and she's at the game.
She's too busy opening packages from the Eagles and deciding on what fit. You know, we see it. We see what's going on.
Hey,
she got to get an autograph from Jalen Hurts from every now and then. So
Simone, we miss you. We love you. We're not hating. Maybe a little jealous, but we're not hating.
Not.
We're not hating.
Right.
Before we get into football, more band talk. We've had another band who said they are not interested in being ranked and included in the Band of the Year promotion, if you will. Bethune-Cookman was the latest to say thanks, but no thanks. Vaughn, I'm not a member of a band at any point in my life. I respect what they do. I enjoy what they do. I look forward to what they do. I was hoping the Band of the Year would be a little more fun. It's kind of feeling like everybody wants to take their ball home and end the game.
Well, Tolly, you know, just like you said, bands are their own culture at HBCUs. And just like Wilton and I were saying, you know, every band has their own thing that they do. And to try to do a national battle of the bands that's ranked in this nature, a lot of the battle of the bands that they go to, there's never a winner declared. They go and then people have the ability to choose who they feel was the winner. But to have one actually scored by a set of metrics, every band is different. Every band is different. Every band, as I said earlier, every band is the best band in the world to their school. And that's because they all do something different that their fan bases love. You know, some things bands do and opponents might not understand it, and the home crowd is going crazy. That's what they do. You know, if you go to Tuskegee, they're going to ball and parlay under the shed, and that is one of the most exciting things in the entire world in bands. You know, so other schools may not understand that why Tuskegeans love their band. And that is duplicated throughout the band spectrum in HBCUs. Each band does something. They're a big part of the game, a big part of the culture, and they have a pride about themselves. Let me give one example before I pass the mic. In the movie Drumline, they wanted FAMU's band to be in there. And when they found out when FAMU's band found out in the script they wanted FAMU's band to lose, they didn't even get in the movie. That's how thick and deep that band culture is.
Hey, Wilton, you're not going to play in my face, man. You are not going to play in my face.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, you have to think about it. Like, we said this in previous weeks, and I know I've said this on the show. Specific bands hold, I mean, every band is important, obviously, but like there are certain bands amongst HBCU land that like people really, really look forward to hearing to every single week. FAMU is one of them. Bethune-Cookman is one of them. Jackson State is one of them. Southern is one of them. Alabama State is one of them. Like it's just there are certain standards that if they're not met or they feel like their respective schools participating in these events are not going to get judged fairly or, you know, judged in a manner that which they feel like, okay, our schools are participating, but because the people that may be judging these particular competitions don't necessarily like these exact styles or customs or the culture that this particular band brings, they almost are already at a disadvantage. So while the collective amongst HBCUs love these bands, of the ones that I just named, and of course many more, it's like, well, we're still not going to get judged the way that we feel like we should be judged, so why do we really want to participate? And does it really hold that much weight?
You know, it's kind of like predicted order of finish for me, right? I was at Swac Media Day this week for the men and women, and we had fun with the coaches. Like, hey, you're predicted to finish 9th. And, you know, some coaches use it like a little chip on this shoulder, but none of them took it seriously because it was like, you know, whatever we do at the end of the year is what's going to count. But the difference between sports, football and basketball, is they have a scoreboard and they have an agreed upon method of how you gain points. And band is just completely subjective. So I see both sides of it. I love what John Grant and those guys are doing. Like, they're having fun. They're creating more conversation around bands. Look, we debuted the rankings right here on HBCU Gameday. They came to us and wanted to partner with us because, we're HBCU Gameday. So we're still going to do that. We're still going to have fun. I don't look at it as, anybody is not reaching their potential because they're not number one in the rankings. It's just kind of fun. But I'm not in the band, so if they decide that that's not the direction they want to go, cool. I would just say this. I would just say this, Vaughn. You don't have to write a 23-page letter about it. Just say we ain't in it and we standing on business. You just leave it at that.
Well, Tolly, just in talking to band directors over the years that I've talked to several of them, one thing that's important, and if you're going to go out recruiting band members, and they do go recruit band members from high school bands.
Yep.
You don't want to be walking in a high school and you're ranked number 7 and you're trying to get the first chair, which is the best of each section. I learned that too in the process. But if you want to get that first chair and you walk in and your band is ranked 7th, that's kind of tough because kids see that. Yep. So in defense of the bands, they compete for the best instrumentalists out of high school. So that ranking along the way affects how they recruit during the season. So, that's another factor in it. Like, you go to a kid and say, hey, I want you to come be in ABC marching band, and they look at the rankings and you down at 7 or 8. They're like, no, I want to go to one of the top 3.
All right. Yeah. There's a lot of sides to it. And I think one other thing, and I don't know how it works exactly because I'm not on, campuses and in the band and in, the band room and all that. But with all the NIL, I think there needs to be more going toward, because at the HBCU level, the band is a part of the game. There are more credentialed people. I will say people. There are more people walking around an HBCU game with credentials around their neck, a camera in their hand, that are there to shoot the band than are there to shoot the football game. And I stand on business on that, Vaughn, because they get in my way. I just try to get a little bit of the band. And I got to fight all these jokers. And when it's time to shoot the game, they ain't nowhere around. They got the tripod set up. They're just waiting for the band to start playing, during a timeout or something. So a lot of sides to it. But I think we can there's a win in there for us all. And I think if we keep at it, if we keep hammering away, we can find that middle. Guys, let's jump into some football. Let's start in the MEAC here. Here's a pretty good game, Vaughn. On paper, I think the fans at A&T are going to pull up to the tailgate and feel pretty good about a team that they have the hate in their DNA for. Not a team they're like, who are we playing this week? No, Aggies. You have South Carolina State in Greensboro. It can be exciting, and it could also get ugly, Vaughn.
Well, look at this. Between Chennis Berry's pregame speech and Sean Gibbs' postgame speeches, boy, it's a lot to take in.
Chennis Berry's going to deliver the mail, and Sean Gibbs is going to say, look, you can listen to all that NBA young boy you want. I need you to get out there and hit those gaps, boys. What do you think? You give the Aggies a fighting shot this week?
I think the way that I see Chennis Berry and his team rolling right now, I don't think A&T is going to be a big challenge for them. Even though A&T is a former MEAC team, they were a different team when they were in the MEAC and different circumstance. I see Chennis Berry is on a mission to try to reclaim that MEAC for South Carolina State. His team looks solid. They look solid. Their defensive line looks really, really good. And so I just don't know if the Aggies have the firepower to withstand what's going to be coming across that defensive line.
Wilton, you give the Aggies a shot here at all?
Tyler, I can't. I don't think I can give him a shot, at least a serious shot. And that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's going to be the final score 51-7. But I just think that this is a South Carolina State team that's going to be ultra focused, kind of going throughout the rest of the month as we get into MEAC play. Because I just still think about that loss that they had against Charleston Southern, a team that had not won a game. And I think that when you think about a coach like Chennis Berry, you have to know that he wasn't pleased with that performance in that game. And just continuing to think that if you want to go back and repeat as MEAC champions and getting closer to MEAC conference or getting closer to conference play, you got to play your best football. And I think that this is an opportunity for them to add another win. I do think it's going to be some competition, but I don't think it's going to be enough to where that they should lose this game. I would be very, very concerned if South Carolina State loses this game. And so I'm expecting, obviously their impact players like Ryan Stubblefield and Jalen Johnson and many others to have a strong game in getting the win against North Carolina A&T.
So South Carolina State, you just saw coming off that win against Savannah State. They won that one 49-6. North Carolina A&T didn't look bad last weekend. They lost to William and Mary 38-34. But again, I'm just excited for the Aggie fans to have a game that means something to them. That there's a lot of history. There'll be a lot of vibes in the tailgate and in the stands. And we talked about the bands at halftime as well. That'll be the blue and gold marching machine against the marching 101. Last week was kind of the game that I usually set you guys up to take all the smoke from the fans, but I said, Norfolk, I think you can get Hampton. This is a chance for Michael Vick to get a big win. Not so fast. Hampton University comes away with the win. Had Michael Vick losing a bet to his wife, he had to wear a Hampton hat to his press conference. Norfolk State falls 27-21. So nice win for Hampton in the Battle of the Bay. Vaughn, for me, even though MEAC play hasn't started, I would say Norfolk fans, enjoy this year. Bring your expectations for next year, baby.
I agree. As I've said before, I see a lot of parallels in Michael Vick's first year and Deion Sanders' spring season that he had in, what was that, 2021?
Yep, spring 2021.
Yeah, 2021. I see a lot of parallels. He's getting adjusted to the speed of play of Division I football, getting used to the culture of HBCU football, and getting used to being a head coach. He's got a lot of learning to do. It just seems like I see him observing a lot, which is good, because if he can absorb it now, take his blows, just like Prime said, take your blows now, because I'll understand that the kid I recruit for next season has to be a little better than the kid that I thought I needed this season. The quarterback that I get is going to be that much better. I really gave them a shot to win that Hampton game. It's going to be one of those games they'll look back at the end of the season and say they definitely should have had that game.
Yeah, it was a close one. And that's been the thing for Norfolk this year, Wilton. The games they've lost, a lot of those, they've been in them. And the game that they won, they just barely got by with that one. So they have been close this year.
No, they absolutely have, and I think it comes down to a lot of what Vaughn said. But I think just when you talk about football, you have to be able to win close games, and especially in critical moments where it matters the most. So if you look at this Norfolk State team, they've had those moments where they've been in games where they could have won a game, but then it was something that came up to where like maybe they didn't win, it was a miscue and things of that nature. But that comes when you're a first year coach. You're learning different things. Players are learning each other. And to Vaughn's point, I can assure you next season, Norfolk State won't look the same way that they look this year. This is a Norfolk State team, and, I think back to that first season with Coach Prime at Jackson State. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they finished 4-3. And there were a lot of games that Jackson State was in that they lost. It was just like close games, like just simple miscues of things, players trying to learn each other, coaches trying to get on one accord. And we see what happened in that fall season, fall 2021. Jackson State goes on to, win a Swac championship. So, for Norfolk State, to your point, Tolly, fans are probably not as excited as they once were to begin the season. But I think they'll still have a lot to be excited about throughout the rest of the season and, going forward into the next season.
Wilton, I want to stay with you right here. Delaware State, they started the season hot. They were 3-1 to start the year. They've now lost 2 games in a row. A highly offensive game last week. Monmouth had damn near 50 points. They had 49. Delaware State had 38. Deshaun Jackson has been impressive. Does the two-game losing streak heading into homecoming, does that disturb you at all, or you feel like it's all right?
So I think it's okay, and I say that due to the fact of people may not know much about Monmouth, but this is an FCS top 25 team, right? So that's number one. Number two, they have a prolific offense, and I think that coming into that game, we already knew it was going to be a tough challenge for Delaware State. But here's the thing: if you really watch that game, and I got a chance to watch a good majority of it, almost all of it, Delaware State had no problem scoring against Monmouth. They were able to throw the ball, they were able to run the ball, they were able to do everything they wanted to do. The thing is, they couldn't stop us all for Monmouth. I mean, when I tell you Monmouth had over 600 yards of total offense, their running back alone had over 200 yards. Their quarterback, Derek Roberson, had 351 yards and 4 touchdowns. That tells you didn't stop anybody. So if they were able to get stops defensively, they could have potentially won this game, which would have been a huge momentum boost going into this week's game. So when I think about that, I'm not necessarily worried because most people didn't expect Delaware State to win against Monmouth last week. So the fact that they kept it close, I think the biggest thing is, hey, let's tighten some things up defensively and get prepared and continue to build on that momentum that we've built.
Well, I'm sure the yard will be a lot different this year at Delaware State as they celebrate their homecoming. A lot of excitement around their football program for the first time in a while, taking on Southern Connecticut State University, not South Carolina State. You might see SCSU. It is not the Bulldogs for homecoming. It is Southern Connecticut State. Vaughn, let me switch over to you. You were talking earlier this week about that Morgan State game. They lost a close one to Georgetown, and you didn't necessarily think it had to go down the way that it went down.
No, I feel so disappointed for Coach Damon Wilson. Morgan State is another team that's been in so many games that have been so close. And you have to take advantage of those. You have to win those games. And Morgan State, you're going to look up, the season is going to be gone. You're going to have to be considered a good team, you're going to have to win the close games, and you're going to have to stop beating yourselves. And I think Morgan State beat themselves in this game. And I see the potential there for them to still salvage a good season. But they've absolutely got to stop beating themselves. They should have beat Georgetown.
Was it a Hail Mary or I missed it?
Yeah, so on a Hail Mary, there's one thing to do. Three words. Knock it down. And the guys were sitting there like they were waiting on it to get in it. You got to swat, get hand swatting so that nobody how does somebody get behind you? How does somebody get behind you on a Hail Mary? Somebody should be standing on the back line of the end zone to make sure that that whoever is going to try to come is not behind them. And they got beat deep. Yeah. I didn't see enough. I'm not a coach, and you can always second guess, but I didn't like the lineup because there should have been 4 guys deep, and there were only 2. That were really deep.
What you're basically saying is they should have been in a full prevent defense.
A full prevent.
Yeah.
And all they're preventing is 10 yards, the front of the end zone and the back of the end zone. The rest of the field doesn't matter. If somebody catch it there, good. You want them to do that because you just tackle them, the game's over.
Exactly.
But you let the receiver get behind the defense. That was disappointing. I don't want to say what I really want to say, but the coaches have to teach the guys better than that, and they have to demand better than that.
Yeah, we had to bring it out of him just a little bit, Wilton. Vaughn tried to, just softly say, "Oh yeah, they're beating themselves." I know, Vaughn. Talk about the last play. I know that's what you wanted to say.
Yeah, because Morgan State's an HBCU. So we're pulling for them. So we're just like other fans who are frustrated.
Hey, but you got to call it like it is, man.
Yeah, a basic play that from middle school and high school football should have been taught.
All right, in Tallahassee this weekend, this is a unique matchup, a former MEAC rivalry here, North Carolina Central University and FAMU. This is a hot offense coming into Tallahassee. This is a FAMU team, Vaughn, still trying to find themselves. This will be a great week for the Rattlers to find themselves because they'll have their hands full with North Carolina Central.
Well, the defense better find themselves before they start handing off the ball because, Trey Oliver takes no prisoners. He doesn't stop. You have to stop him. As I've learned from Trey Oliver, he feeds off any negativity around. I was in the tunnel with him at the Celebration Bowl when they won the Celebration Bowl, when they beat Jackson State. And I saw one thing, but afterwards, how he described it, I'm sure was going on in his mind the whole time, the disrespect and that sort of thing. So a good coach knows a way, he knows an angle to get the kids excited, and he is a master. He is a master at motivating his team. He finds a way, finds a piece of motivation, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Rattlers can slow down that running game of North Carolina Central. Yes, they can pass it, but the key is if they're able to make a dent in the strength of North Carolina Central, which is definitely the running game.
Wilton, it'll be a tough environment there at Bragg Stadium, but the FAMU defense is going to be pick your poison because North Carolina Central has one of the top quarterbacks and running backs in all of FCS football.
Absolutely. And I think that both of them are going to come in basically doing what they've been doing all season. Walker Harris, we've talked about his coming out party and not just being a game manager, but really being able to show and flex his muscles and being able to facilitate this Eagles offense. And he's done an exceptional job. And then to Vaughn's point, Christian Mosley, I mean, my gosh, like we've seen him pretty much dominate the entire season. This is a FAMU team that if they want to potentially even come close to getting the upset, they have to absolutely stop or slow down Christian Mosley. And then also, limit what Walker Harris is going to do, whether it's in the pocket or, him scrambling outside of the pocket to make plays. But I think also something I want to mention about FAMU is that when they score and when they get into the red zone, they have to finish. They have to be able to get touchdowns versus field goals. Because this is a North Carolina Central team that when they get in the red zone, they're going to score, and they're going to score points, specifically touchdowns.
Yeah, so exciting, Vaughn. What's the buzz? It's unique that you get an HBCU matchup like this in October that's a non-conference game. Are people pretty excited about the matchup this weekend?
People are excited. My concern is the players because homecoming is next week. Next week you got Lotto, and
Big Lotto,
Bossman D-Lo, and this big old concert and all of these huge events. You know how FAMU does homecoming.
Absolutely.
And all of those promotions are just dominating the scene, and it's almost like there's not a game this week. And I hope the players don't take that and understand that, yes, you do have a game this week. Yes, you absolutely have to win homecoming next week, but you need to take care of North Carolina Central first. So if I had a concern, it was that. I mean, it's really over the top. I mean, huge concert. I don't know all the artists, Bootsy, everybody. And so I just hope the players can keep their focus on this week. If not, Trey Oliver is going to embarrass them in front of their home crowd. I'll just say it like that.
They thought they were too good for the MEAC. They left the MEAC.
Trey, he'll find something.
That's why we can't start conference play until January. They left him there. Well, Vaughn, they've had enough time to practice. They didn't have a game last week, so.
Yeah, that debacle finally played out. I think we knew it when we put our first article out that the chances were slim and none that the Georgia Football Classic, we went with the company line that we were given. Mercedes-Benz announced it, promoters announced it, but I think we knew in our hearts there was a very slim chance of that happening. And then when we started to look at the ticket sales, we knew it wasn't happening. The smarter thing was to be like Reggie Theus, like I said earlier, and just pull the plug on the whole thing. And they could have played Mississippi Valley and it'd have been the last week and not had a game after the Florida Classic. It's almost no disrespect to Valley, but after the Florida Classic, you build up to the Florida Classic.
Yep.
And I just don't know, how that's all going to play out.
outside of the Celebration Bowl or a berth in the FCS playoffs, which even that could be a little shaky, it's hard to follow. It's impossible to follow the Florida Classic. Like, hey, let's get excited one more time. Like,
you know how that tailgate is at the Florida Classic. You know all the events surrounding it. It's such a, the players come in early. They have a luncheon where you got both of the teams in a luncheon. It's such a build-up, and then you get on a bus and go to Itabena. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep that motivation going after the Florida Classic.
Maybe they can take a detour to Jackson, and Wilton can buy stamps for everybody. Stamps burgers.
Not stamps.
Look, I'm trying to get it back in the good graces in Jackson, man. Give them a little shout out. We talked about the pulling out. They came for us.
If you ever want a good burger, you gotta go to Stamps.
Shout out everybody in Jackson. All right, let's talk about Southern Bethune-Cookman. I kind of feel like this kind of has a elimination type vibe. Like, whichever team wins, I feel like they might get a little heartbeat of hope on the whatever the device is that records the EKG or whatever. Like that little pulse might pop up. For the team that loses, it's still early, but it might feel like a little flat line there.
Man, this game is this is the game of don't stop nobody. Both of these defenses haven't done a good job of stopping anybody all year. I would give an edge to Bethune-Cookman just for the simple fact that it seems like they, even in tough situations, can put up points. Southern, we haven't figured them out we haven't figured out anything about Southern. There is nothing from one game to the next game that you can say that has been consistent. And so using those factors, I would give the advantage of Bethune-Cookman just because I think Malik Huggins is just unguardable. That guy, seeing him in person and seeing him continuing to play, they can get him the ball, and the ground game is decent at Bethune. Southern is still trying to find an identity. Neither one of us can say one thing that stands out in Southern's offense. And then they've got to go down to hot Daytona on that turf down there in Municipal Stadium. So with the home cooking, I'm going to give it to a slight edge to Bethune-Cookman.
Wilton, did you have that on your bingo card heading into the season that Bethune-Cookman could be a favorite against Southern University?
Absolutely not. and even as I think about that and just thinking about Vaughn's comments as he just listed them, I'm thinking to myself, this is not what I thought this game would be. But this is definitely where it is now, and it's a high possibility that Bethune-Cookman could walk away with this game. I will say this, though. This is a Southern team almost a year ago, close to around this same point in time, where they looked pretty much about the same position, and they rattled off a series of wins. Now, granted, some of those players that helped them do that last year for under Coach Terrence Graves aren't necessarily there anymore, but then there's some that are still there. If they are able to get a win like this, although Southern is in the West and Bethune-Cookman is in the East, I do think there's a boost of confidence that could turn Southern season around for them. But if you're Bethune-Cookman and you get a win against Southern, this is a much bigger mark for them because they haven't had winning seasons in quite some time, right? Coach Raymond Woody, he's been preaching that his teams are getting better and better each year. You get a win, you get a signature win against a Southern team. That says a lot. Even though Southern is not playing their best, but you get a win against a signature Swac team, it says a whole bunch. It gives your players a lot of confidence. It gives your program a lot of confidence. It gives your fan base a lot of confidence. So if Cameron Ransom can come out and play like he's been playing all season, and to Vaughn's point, and Huggins getting him the ball, oh my gosh. This could be really, 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 really good for Bethune-Cookman.
You never know. That's why they play the game.
And Tolly?
Yeah.
And the band will be playing.
Yep.
The band not boycotting the games. They will be there playing Wildcats. Let's go.
You can keep a scorecard if you'd like. They are going to be there. Texas Southern. Have we figured this team out yet? They're taking on Grambling. At Grambling, Texas Southern coming off a shellacking of UAPB last week. They beat them 51-7. UAPB looked good in the game I did a couple of weeks ago in Memphis on HBCU Go in the Southern Heritage Classic against Alcorn State. I think last week I even said, hey, guys, you think UAPB is in the running for the division?
Well, we know that didn't last long based off of this past weekend. But I think with this Texas Southern team, with the dominant performance that they had, I think that you're starting to see a little bit more of the pieces that they have and them coming together. And I think this weekend against Grambling, although Grambling is not necessarily playing their best either, in the Swac West, this could be another strong litmus test for Texas Southern to see where they truly stand within the Swac West. I mean, you get performances from obviously in KJ Cooper, but I think one person that maybe is not getting the recognition that really that he really deserves is Athion Renfro, their running back. Dude is solid. Like, and I'm thinking that against a Grambling team, if they can get him going early, in addition to KJ Cooper with Texas Southern, and then that Texas Southern defense, because like between Texas Southern and Prairie View, their defenses pretty much dominate the SWAC West for sure, and really just within the SWAC. So being able to combine those two offensively with that defense, I think Texas Southern has a good chance in beating Grambling.
All right, Vaughn, you feel like you can hedge any bets on this game?
I think Wilton said it perfectly. I see no way, unfortunately, that Grambling's offense can go against Texas Southern's defense. The defense is playing very, very good for Texas Southern, and I just don't see Grambling being able to generate enough offense to outdo what Texas Southern has. I give a big advantage to Texas Southern in this game.
Boy, that bingo card, I'm just going to tear it up because it is it's taking me. How does that new song go? My bingo card is taking me through there. Take me through there. Valley, Alabama A&M. I thought for about a quarter and a half, A&M looked good last week. Quad Brown was back, and then Jackson State, somebody put a battery in their back, and they took off. A&M should beat Valley, right? But I feel like A&M kind of lost the opportunity they had, even to be more competitive than they were last week against Jackson.
I just think Sam Shade is getting it figured out at Alabama A&M, and I think games that they're supposed to win, like this one, I think they will win. I think the key for Alabama A&M is to win the games where they weren't necessarily picked to win. How many of those games that they can win? But just from the coaching staff alone, I think they can will themselves past a win with Valley at the very least. But I just think the team, like you said, you looked at them at the beginning of the Jackson State game, it's kind of tough because Jackson State is hitting on all cylinders, and I don't want to go too much into that before we talk about that game. Judging them against Jackson State is very difficult. They showed that they can do some good things. But, in the end, Jackson State exerted its will and, took a little steam out of the sail. But I think Sam Shade and Alabama A&M will win every game they're supposed to win.
Your thoughts on A&M, how they looked so far, and is there anything to overreact from last week, or is it, hey, Jackson State is handling business at the FCS level and is just another week for the Tigers?
Tyler, I don't overreact a lot to Alabama A&M's loss to Jackson State, and really just with Alabama A&M season, it's pretty much a mixed bag. And this is what you get when you get, obviously a new coach coming into a program. We know what Sam Shade has been able to do, his pedigree, coming from Miles and what he was able to do there. But when you make a transition from a coach from a smaller conference to a bigger conference, it doesn't always equate to success. Even if you bring a certain amount of players over, you're able to recruit well, you have to establish a culture. And I think that what we're seeing is that they're obviously establishing that culture. They've had some wins. To Vaughn's point, the games that we expect Alabama A&M to win, I feel like they're going to win. I never expected Alabama A&M to beat Jackson State. However, I also didn't think Alabama A&M was going to lose to Bethune-Cookman, right? But I knew that game was going to be close. So against a team like Mississippi Valley, who typically plays hard for sure, at least for the first half of a game, you're gonna always get a very competitive Mississippi Valley State team. I think Alabama A&M takes the loss from Jackson State and uses that as momentum to bounce back and get a win against Mississippi Valley. I think that they're just gonna have too much firepower against the Delta Devils. That Mississippi Valley just won't be able to slow down. And I think that as long as, Alabama A&M wins on early downs, they're able to protect their quarterback and more so than anything, control the clock and keep Mississippi Valley off the field, I think they're going to be just fine.
All right, so we got a couple of homecomings this week in the SWAC. At least three, right? We got homecoming for UAPB. They're taking on Westgate. Not Miss Westlake from The Cosby Show. Not Westworld, but Westgate. Show of hands, guys. Have you ever heard of Westgate before as a university with a football team?
Is it a Division II school?
I have no idea. It sounds like a movie theater. Like I'm gonna go check out the new, Iron Man movie down at the Westgate. I don't know.
I'll be honest. Before this week, I had not heard about Westgate like that.
Lincoln of California, I have heard of. They will be at Alcorn State's homecoming. Yep. A winless Alcorn State. Wilton, did you have that on your bingo card heading into Week 7?
Absolutely not. I definitely thought Alcorn State would have won some games by now, and we're seeing that this is just, and really it's more so Alcorn State on offense, not necessarily as much on defense, because they have playmakers that have shown that they can, make stops on the defensive side of the ball, but it's just the continuity on offense, and it just continues to be that way. Each week that we've seen throughout this season. And so until that's solidified, I'll say this, I don't even necessarily know if it'll just be solidified just within 1 week, but the continuity has to continue to grow for them to at least win one game. And of course, once you get one win, once you see it, once you actually do it, feel it, know what it feels like, you can add to that and know like, okay, these are the things we did well. How can we replicate this success going into another week? So I think that they get a win this week, obviously, though.
Vaughn, Alcorn was a beast coming out of the East. It has not been as easy in the West. Coach Thomas, great dude. Love Coach Thomas. Want to see him get some wins, but they have been hard to come by. And a lot of almost woulda, shoulda, coulda disappointing wins.
The Braves are trying to recapture that luster they had when Fred McNair was there, and they just have not. And, and you think about the staff that Coach McNair had when he was there. He had a pretty good staff. So I'm just wondering, what is it going to take for Alcorn to get back up to the top? But right now, we're just hoping for them to survive, and I think they'll get a win this week. But it's going to have to be a lot of soul searching and a lot of adjustments to get this team. The SWAC West is tough. It's tough. And it's not decided until the last moment. I mean, it's almost decided in overtime every year, the SWAC West. So it's a very competitive conference. So we're going to see if they can bounce back out and get a win this week.
Absolutely. There's no way you can lose this week.
And see how they see a path forward for them. I don't know what the path forward is for Alcorn.
Yeah, I'm willing to 100% guarantee they're going to defeat Lincoln of California. Not worried about that. But they haven't been bad. I mean, look, what they lost last week by 1 point. They had the UAPB game late. I mean, they could have just as easily a couple of plays away from coming in here on a 2-game win streak early in conference play. But that's the difference in football. A play here, a penalty here, a missed opportunity in the red zone there, a missed extra point, and those things start to add up. But enjoy the homecoming this week for all of our fans and friends at Alcorn State. There's one other game, guys. I guess we should just throw it in here. I mean, we should just talk about it a little bit, I guess. Some people are calling it the game of the year. I would have to agree. Alabama State at Jackson State. It's homecoming. The top two teams in the Swac East, I would dare say the top two teams in the Swac. This could decide the division right here this weekend. Wilton, you are in Jackson, Mississippi, and you were at practice this morning, right?
I was.
What was happening besides practice?
Obviously, so looking at the players, how they were practicing, like Coach Taylor has his guys locked in. They know what this game means, and he kind of alluded to that in his press conference this week with some of the local media, that like it wasn't much that he had to explain about the magnitude of this game. Yes, it's homecoming, but he quickly told them, like he told them in previous years, that the homecoming festivities, those things aren't for us. Like Jack State has to handle business if they want to continue to go after the goal that they hope to get to in the month of December, and that's competing in a SWAC championship. And so, no better way to test that against arguably the second best team in the SWAC East in Alabama State, who is essentially rolling on all cylinders when it comes to the game. Andrew Body, we talked about him, his ability to create explosive plays. Their rushing attack has come along in the last two games for Alabama State, which of course that also helps Andrew Body and what he's able to do in terms of putting the ball in the air to his weapons, specifically Jalen Jones. And while their defense, the Hornets defense, isn't necessarily exactly the way it has been in the last, say, 2 to 3 years, it's still dominant. And I think that you're going to see Saturday should be a showcase between two really good teams on both sides of the ball, to where there are going to be moments where this game could potentially come down to special teams. A special teams play could be the difference maker in this game. I also think that whichever team's defense comes up with the critical stop or multiple critical stops in this game is going to win the contest.
Wilton, we heard you when you said Alabama State, the second best team in the division. I mean, I think right now you can't say like who's the better team in the division. Like it's 1-1. Like.
Well, I'm under the impression that until you beat the champion, then they're still the champion. So after this week, if Alabama State beats Jackson State, they are arguably for sure the number one team in the SWAC East. Have they played like the number one team in the SWAC East? Absolutely. Have they gotten the recognition at the same level that Jackson State has, throughout the first, 5-6 weeks into the season? I think that they have. I don't think anyone is looking at Alabama State and saying like, oh, they're not that good, or we're not paying attention to Alabama State. Oh, that's just, that Andrew Body kid, he's just a fluke. Or, no one's saying that. Everybody knows what Alabama State is doing. Everybody's paying attention to what Alabama State is doing. And because of that, this is why, to your point, Tolly, this is why everybody is paying attention to this game. This is why the Vet could expect at least 40,000 people to watch this game this weekend.
The Vet can expect. I like the rhymes there, Wilton. A 50-point performance for both teams last week. These offenses are rolling. Might come down to a defensive stop and who can stop who. Vaughn, what are you looking forward to? What's your excitement level for you and your mode of watching TV on the weekend?
Man, I can't wait to watch this game. It's, to me, and no disrespect to the MEAC, but it really is the game of the year in HBCU football, absolutely at this point. Watching Jackson State against Alabama A&M, I just saw a mature team that took the blow from Alabama A&M and then just got in gear. Jacobian Morgan looks so comfortable back there at quarterback. It's like the whole game has slowed down for him and he doesn't get rattled. And what I really saw was Jackson State players look like they're having so much fun. And when a team is doing that, they want to keep having fun. So they keep doing the right things and they keep pouring into what they need to pour into. As far as Alabama State, very good team. Seeing them up close and personal, Eddie Robinson has a solid team. And so I don't think there's been as much excitement around this game since the game after they put Dion up on the scoreboard at Alabama State.
That was a spring. I was at that game. That was that spring season. They put
the spring. Yeah. I don't think there's been this much excitement since the game after they put Dion up on the screen at Alabama State.
Yeah, that was. I was there. That was something. That was a moment to be remembered. Quincy, Ivory, on that edge with all that speed and size. Is Alabama State? Are they going to purposefully go away from him, or do they believe in their offense? Like, no, you got to be worried about stopping us.
I think that you definitely, if you're Alabama State, you want to scheme for him. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe sent some potential doubles his way to, potentially slow down his impact and getting to Andrew Body or stopping the run. But he's definitely a force, and that's a force that if you're really looking at this team, you want to know where Quincy Ivory is at all times. And the crazy thing is, Tolly, is that like, if you think because he has this impact on the field, Quincy Ivory is really not a guy that talks a lot. He's a man of very few words. But when he steps on that field, do know that he's coming for Andrew Body with everything in his power to get him down on the ground.
This is going to be, man. We might decide the division. We might also decide the Swac Player of the Year. Jacobian Morgan was the preseason pick. Just wasn't a lot of talk about Andrew Body because he had been injured for the last handful of seasons coming in. Vaughn, this is like 3 games in one. Like, there could be a lot decided on Saturday.
There are a lot of different scenarios going into the game Saturday. What I did like about Alabama State that I've seen is they've won different ways offensively. They've won with they barely lost to UAB on Body's legs. They've won with Body passing, and then in the FAMU game, he was a Jalen Hurts. He managed the game. He didn't have to do anything spectacular. He only threw 18 times, but he managed the game. So seeing them win in different ways shows that he can adapt to the adjustments that are made. So it will be interesting to see how these offenses match up against each other. Like I said, these are the 2 best offenses in the SWAC, to me by far. And it'll come down to which defense can stop the other consistently and who masters special teams.
What is the one thing that can't go wrong, Wilton, for either team? Like, if this one thing goes wrong or is out of character on Saturday, it could spell trouble for either Jackson State or Alabama State.
I would say for Jackson State, special teams. We've seen a couple extra points been blocked for them this season. I would say special teams, that could be an issue. And I'll say this other point, specifically from the secondary standpoint, even though I don't think it's going to be the biggest issue, if they're not ready at all times for, in terms of paying attention to Andrew's Body with his eyes, in terms of looking for his weapons down the field, that could spell trouble, especially when Alabama State has a dynamic receiver in Jalen Jones who's looking to take the ball to the house for a touchdown. And of course, obviously, Alabama State has some other weapons as well, but I think if special teams, you want to make sure that you're locked in, and then also that secondary for sure, if you're Jackson State.
And there was one thing about Morgan earlier in the season. T.C. Taylor wanted him to look downfield and be more involved in the vertical passing game because he felt those opportunities were there, and Morgan either wasn't seeing them or was too quick to take off out of the pocket. That did not seem to be a problem against A&M. They much more vertical since Morgan has come back from his injury.
And talking about Alabama State, and we're talking about special teams, a lot of people forget on the Alabama State sideline is a very, very good special teams coordinator and coach in Terry Sims, who used to be Bethune-Cookman's head coach. Terry is a special teams guru. He can pounce on any weakness that he sees. So I think that would be an addition for Alabama State in this game this weekend will be the fact that Eddie Robinson can lean on Terry Sims. I always like when there are 2 head coaches on a team because sometimes you just need another voice to bounce off of. And I think I've seen that relationship with with Eddie Robinson and Terry Sims. On the other side, y'all know how I feel about a former coach being the head coach. I love it. I love everything about T.C. Taylor being the head coach at Jackson State University. There's a different swag of a former player leading a team. There's a different pride. There's a different sense of urgency. There's a different sense of everything when a guy that wore those colors on the field in those helmets and sat in those lockers, there's a different sense of urgency, and there's a different just sense of whole pride about a former player being a coach of a football team.
Wilton, have you liked Morgan's ability to get the ball downfield more in the last couple of weeks?
I have. I think you started to see his comfortability in doing that in that Southern game, specifically in that second half, and it's really carried over from the Southern game to the Alabama A&M game. But you could see on full display that he had a certain layer of confidence that just was unmatched against Alabama A&M in that game. And I think that having seen him in practice, seeing how the way the players have corralled around him, this is an offense that is humming at the right time, and I think that as long as he's able to see the field in the way that he needs to, slows down, to Vaughn's point, the game does feel like it slowed down for him. I think that as long as he does that, I think he's going to be fine, and I think the more strikes that he takes downfield with that level of comfort that he has, I think this is a Jackson State offense that's definitely not about to slow down anytime soon.
All right, let's
Charlie,
get
when they do go downfield, another thing I noticed, watch Jackson State's other receivers when one receiver has made a catch. Mm-hmm. The blocking, the dedication to helping that guy get further or to the end zone, it's off the charts. The effort is on 100. And those are the intangibles. That is why Jackson State has been so good. It's almost as if the guys who aren't getting the ball have bought into the team concept, and they continue to block and keep rooting for their guy.
All right, picks. Wilton. Who's going to win?
I have Jackson State winning this game anywhere between 7 to 10 points. More so leaning to that 7, and I think that touchdown may come somewhere maybe late in the third quarter, that game-deciding touchdown, either in the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter.
Vaughn, I'm sorry, y'all caught me yawning. Not that the show's boring. I just yawn from time to time. Vaughn, who are you going to pick?
It's in Jackson for homecoming. Got to get an edge to Jackson State. I'd say by 6 points, like 31-25, something in that nature.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an evenly played game. I think the way the vet is going to be rocking, man, it just feels like that gives Jackson an extra 2 to 3 points to me. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, but if you were like, you got to absolutely make a bet, I would say Jackson by 3. But if it was in Montgomery, I could very easily go the other way. But I think the home environment will be part of the deciding factor, because that place is going to be rolling on set. Because Wilton, they really where was the Southern game, Wilton? It was in Baton Rouge.
It was in Southern.
It was at Southern.
Yeah, it was in Baton
So there
Rouge.
really hasn't been a game at Jackson this year that's been like, like everybody. I was there for Tuskegee. It was okay. I'm sure Hampton was all right, but this game.
And I was at the game for Hampton. It was, of course, the first game of the season, but the first game of the season, the Tuskegee game, is nothing compared to a Jackson State homecoming crowd inside Veterans Memorial Stadium. That place is going to be rocking. You're going to see a ton of blue and white. I mean, Tolly, and honestly, I still expect to see a lot of Alabama State fans too, though. So I do think that, like, you're going to get the epic atmosphere of true HBCU football on Saturday from both teams. I mean, again, you couldn't ask for a better contest in the middle of a season, especially in the most critical part of the season, in the month of October. The temperatures are slowly starting to go down. What better way to put the two best teams in the Swac East against each other that could decide, like you said, potentially Swac Player of the Year? It could be the Swac East Division winner later on. It's just so much on the line, and I just think that we're going to get one of the best HBCU football atmospheres this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take you one farther, Wilton. I think this game Saturday will determine the SWAC champion.
I wouldn't argue with you with that.
So this game could be the ticket to Atlanta, is what? Are you going that far? You going
I'm
as
going
far
that
as
far.
all right?
I mean, but you can't argue with them because it's like when you look at the Swac West, it's so wacky. Like and to Vaughn, when you said just a few minutes ago in another segment, you said if the winner of the Swac West may come in an overtime game on November 12th. I'm just throwing out a date. And we thinking like, okay, well, Swac East is sold up. We know maybe by the end of this month it's either Jackson State, Alabama State, or at least we're thinking those are the two favorites. And then in Swac West, we're like, okay, Southern has made a rebound. Prairie View has, maintained, or Grambling has came out of nowhere.
Come on,
Texas
UAPB.
Southern,
Come on, UAPB.
yeah, that too. Christian Peters has thrown UAPB into SWAC championship contention. Although I don't think that's going to happen. But at the same time, it's just like, you just don't know. Right now, we're looking at Prairie View and Texas Southern. And this is what? October 9th.
Right.
By November 9th, it could be Southern, Prairie View.
Valley.
There you go. Rest my case.
Yeah, I just think those two teams have been consistent all year. They're playing at a level of focus that just in my mind, I stand by my word. I think the winner of Saturday's game is absolutely the favorite for the SWAC championship.
All right, it's going to be homecoming. It's going to be epic. A lot of homecomings this week. We unfortunately had tragedy at homecomings this year, specifically at South Carolina State. We had issues at Virginia State. It's not the students. We've had issues. We've had problems with people visiting, and we love to keep our campuses open and as a vital part of our communities, surrounding communities of HBCUs. But keep this in mind. If you do not have good intentions heading to an HBCU homecoming this weekend, don't go. There's enough trouble in the world. There are enough battles that we are waging inside of this country right now. We can't fight you and them. We don't want to fight anybody. We wish these battles weren't in existence, but it is the world that we live in, and we do not need additional trouble. So if you're going to a homecoming this weekend and somehow it crosses your mind, where is my piece? Where's my pistol? Where's my gun? I need that on my way to XYZ homecoming. It's not the place for you, and you are not the person that we need on campus. Guys, we've been around a long time. I've been to every type of HBCU, every corner of this country, and I think we're all in agreement. There was not ever one time where I felt like I needed anything to defend myself from anybody, any person, any threat. It is a place to get an education, to have a good time. It is not a place for violence.
Yeah, I agree. You send your children, your loved ones off to college to get an education and to have a great social atmosphere, and just elements from outside have begun to invade. And as I understand it, several HBCUs have begun to look at their security procedures as to fencing off their universities, which is something you don't want to do, but in today's climate, you almost have no choice to be able to protect the ones that are on campus. Universities are having student-only events, so that they can control the outside environments from invasion. When you see things that you know are going to be contentious, like Candace Owens visiting the HBCUs, however you feel about them, I feel very strongly about free speech, but we also know that brings an element of possible contention, and these types of things are just building on HBCUs, and there's a different conscience that you have to have about when you attend these events. HBCU homecomings are supposed to be a big tailgate, a big family reunion, a big class reunion, a big cultural explosion, your ability to be in a safe place to express who you are without fear of a judgment or issues from outside. But unfortunately, those same gatherings have turned into, in some cases, political battlegrounds, places where people who just have no good intentions know that there's going to be a gathering of people where whatever trouble they want to start, there's a big audience for that to happen. So that is an extra level of caution. We can't hide from it and this sort of thing. We have to deal with it. But the key is to just be vigilant when you go out, to look at your surroundings. You know, any sight of trouble, don't even intervene. Just exit the area, or if you see an authority or whatever, to make sure that the key is almost, and I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like a policeman's mentality. The key is to go home. Every policeman has a goal of serving and protecting and going home. And I think we have to have that mentality as well. The key is to go to the homecoming, have a good time, give money back to your school, watch the game, watch the band, go back to the parties, see all the people you want to see, but go home at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Very well said. We'll leave it with our OG, Vaughn Wilton, with the final word there.
He wrapped it up, put a bow on it and everything. I was thinking to myself, it ain't nothing else for me to say because he said it.
That's it. Look, the only thing you need to worry, only person you should worry about seeing is that old boyfriend or girlfriend. That should be your biggest concern at a
Stay
homecoming
on your P's
weekend.
and Q's.
Not any sort of violence. All right, guys, it was fun. I'm looking forward to that game this weekend, man. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week. Simone might even come back. Who knows? But until then, for Wilton, for Vaughn, I'm TC from Atlanta. We'll see you guys next week.